We'll get started. So again, we appreciate you taking this time to join us. This is an optional VPK Director webinar to give a class overview, that you're familiar with the class tool and the observations that will be happening throughout the districts, and so that you can have conversations with the teachers to reassure them about what they can expect and how the data will be collected and how it will be shared and used. So just to see our objectives for today, I'm super excited in just a moment to introduce and welcome our brand new director of our voluntary pre-K programs, Tasha Owens-Green. You're going to be so delighted. We're thrilled to have her, and you're going to see just momentarily why we're so thrilled. But then we are going to move into providing an overview of the class assessment, the actual observation instrument, some highlights from it. And then we're going to share logistics of when and how class observations will be conducted, what you can expect, and how you can communicate about this. And then again, to highlight how we plan to collect the data and share it and what we're going to use it for. I think those are important points. But I don't want to delay any further. I'm going to let Tasha introduce herself. So I'm going to switch out of view and put her in view. So we're going to make a minor adjustment here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be on this webinar this morning. I hope everyone had a great weekend, and I'm excited to now be the director of the Voluntary Pre-K program. And just know I'm coming to you with extensive experience in early care and education, working in DK programs in North Carolina, as well as I had an opportunity to work here in Tennessee as DHS director. So I just want you to know that early care and education is a critical time in children's life. I'm excited to be a part of the pre-K program in supporting you. I hope that we partner with each other, keeping close partnerships through via email. Please feel free to contact me at any time. And I am looking forward to the work that we have ahead of us as we move forward in our pre-K programs. Again, my experience is very extensive, and I've worked in so many capacities in the field of early education, and just want to bring my wealth of knowledge and experience to you all in a supportive and a resourceful way, and really look forward to being that to each and every one of you. Again, let's partner, let's communicate, and please feel free to contact me at any time, because I am ready and available and looking forward to not only talking to you through via phone or email, but also coming out to your districts and visiting with you. I'm excited. I made a couple of visits already, and I just came back just so excited to see the great work that teachers and administrators are doing in the pre-K classroom. So it's a definitely exciting time, and looking forward to meeting and spending time with you all. Please feel free to email me if you have questions or just want to chat. I look forward to that as well. And I am here to be a resource and support to each and every one of you. Again, looking forward to getting to know you. Thank you again.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tasha. And I know that you'll be just really excited to be able to work with Tasha. And I personally wanted to pause and say, oh my goodness, kudos to all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your extreme amount of patience in this interim where we've had to shuffle roles and manage budgets and all the communications. And I know there's been just some things along the way that we were like, okay, here, we're trying to get up to speed, and you all have been champions in the process, and I so appreciate all of you. And we're excited that Tasha actually has her email up and going and her phone number, which we have at the end of the presentation, so that you can take down all that information to contact her directly. So again, thank you for your patience in the process, and I just continue to brag on you all because I said no other team like this VPK director team could have handled the transition better than you all, so I appreciate that. So let's dive into our overview of the class observation instrument. As you know, this past spring, we conducted a statewide sampling of VPK classroom quality using the class tool. We had assessors from Teachstone come and conduct those evaluations. And if you remember back to our ELMS trainings together, we talked about our Vanderbilt data And many of us said, whew, we're getting tired of seeing that dangle effect and like that data that might not represent today's work in some ways, and you were excited about really the opportunity to have data to truly reflect what's happening in your district and in your classrooms with your teachers. And so I hope you'll help me communicate that out to teachers as we go through the additional class assessments to say this is your opportunity to capture your data and to tell the story going forward. And really it's about just getting a baseline so that we can tell where we've improved hereafter. So it's not about an evaluative type of assessments that will be used for any other purpose than growth, so and informing our professional development opportunities. So I hope you'll help me communicate that out, but that's our goal and our excitement about this tool. So let's take a look and see what's included in class. Some of you are more familiar with the tool itself than others, and so I thought giving this overview, it would help you feel comfortable, and as your teachers and districts ask you about it, you'll be able to have talking points to share with them. So the instrument itself, I think it's important to note that it was developed with the intention to assess quality in pre-K through grade 3 classrooms, which, you know, that's interesting in itself as we continue to be thoughtful about the birth to grade 3 continuum. And I'm excited because, you know me, I get on my soapbox about developmentally appropriate practice. And so this tool is really based on developmental theory and research, and it's really taking a deeper look at the interactions that occur between students and adults. And we know from research that it's this type of interaction that significantly impacts development and learning. So we're looking for those student outcomes. This is where we want to take a look at the actual interactions that are occurring between students and adults and students themselves, and how they even interact throughout the day, not just within one given lesson. So again, it's focused on these interactions between teachers and students, and I love this part. Look at that last bullet. It says not only between teachers and students, but what teachers do with the materials they have. Think about that for just a minute. Think about how much work we've done in talking about the environment last year and what we put in the environment, and thinking through our learning centers. And with this opportunity with our new adopted curriculum, we can have conversations about, okay, we have the materials, but just having the materials and the curriculum in place is not going to make a difference that we want to see, right? These teachers play a critical role. So as you communicate this to your teachers, they go about their normal business of teaching and doing just what they normally do. We're not coming in to assess like what, you know, how many materials are present. We're not coming in to assess, do you have this learning center or this learning center? It really, truly is a look at the interactions between teachers and students and what teachers are doing with the materials they have. So it's not a question of what the materials are, but it's what we're doing with those materials. So moving along, it's helpful to know with the tool that the class has domains and dimensions that are always kind of included. And to start with, it's important to understand that there's 3 main domains, and you see them featured here on the slide. There's the emotional support domain, the classroom organization domain, and the instructional support domain. And there you see listed under each one. I'll give you a minute to kind of take in this slide. I know I'm a visual learner, so it takes me a minute to kind of see what's there, and then we'll discuss those. So as you notice, with the emotional support, we're talking about positive climate, negative climate, teacher sensitivity, and regard for student perspective. And we'll dive into these in the next slides, but just to see, like when we talk about emotional support, these are the topics or the dimensions that are included beneath that domain. Moving over to the classroom organization, this is concerned with behavior management, productivity, instructional learning formats. And then moving on to the instructional support domain, we're really concentrating on concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling. So those are our domains, and those are the specifics under those. But I want you to take one more quick glance back on this slide, and I want you to, again, look through the lens of teacher-student interaction. So when we talk about behavior management, it's through the lens of those interactions. When we talk about productivity, we're looking at interactions, not the actual activity itself, but looking at the interactions within that activity. And all the way across this slide, it's all about the interaction. So let's look at each one of these domains in their own isolation, if you will, even though it's really an integrated look altogether. So the emotional support domain, if you wanted to break that down a little bit more to say, what do you mean about, like, when it says positive or negative climate, what are we talking about? So as you see on the slide, positive, as you may have guessed, really has to do with the emotional connection being made, respect, level of respect that is existing. And I love this part, the enjoyment that's demonstrated. Not only the enjoyment by the students, but the enjoyment by the teachers. And of course, the negative is much more the opposite of that, and it's the level of expressed negativity exhibited by teachers and or students. So taking a look at the climate. Then there's the teacher sensitivity, and someone might say, what is meant by sensitivity? So this has to do with the teacher's awareness of and responsibility, I can't say the word today, to students' academic and emotional concerns. So this is taking time when that child is in need. We think about their social and personal needs and really taking time to respond to that. And even in those instructional moments, we know if you're teaching pre-K, that you can't ignore those and that you have to take a moment and acknowledge those and then connect and continue to go on, but that's really important. And the next one is regard for student perspective. This is the degree to which teachers' interactions with students and classroom activities place an emphasis on the students' interests, motivations, and points of view. So again, this is really taking time to get to know your students. We know that with team evaluations, we have this on the team rubric, thinking about how we have this connection to what the students are interested in, how that connects to their motivation and points of view. And here we see that this tool that we want to make sure that we're seeing the connections to what's interesting to the students. So looking onto the classroom organization domain, this is broken down into behavior management, productivity, and instructional learning formats. And as you see, these are each described here. Behavior management really is taking a look at, again, this is tricky because you might be only thinking about behavior management from another lens, but really bring that back to your interactions within that behavior management. So how are teachers effectively monitoring, preventing, or redirecting behavior? And what's the type of behaviors that are happening as they interact with one another? Productivity is how well the classroom runs. I like to think of that as a well-oiled machine. You know, you walk into a classroom and it just seems like the kids could run it themselves. They seem to know what the routines are. There's a degree to which the teacher has set that up successfully. There are well-organized activities and directions so that the idea is we have optimal time spent for learning that we're not spent mostly on redirecting behaviors. And then instructional learning formats have to do with how teachers facilitate activities and provide interesting materials so that students are engaged and learning opportunities are maximized. And moving on to the last domain, the instructional support domain, happens to be one of my favorite ones. It deals with concept development, and those folks that are connected to Read to Be Ready districts, you certainly are familiar with our efforts here to increase concept development. So this one has to do with how teachers use instructional discussions and activities to promote higher order thinking skills in contrast to the focus on just rote learning. And I would say, as I've gone out to visit, like Tasha came back excited from her recent visit, we're seeing such great efforts here that teachers are really thinking deeply about how are we going to promote higher order thinking, and they're moving more away from this rote memory type of learning. So we're excited about those movements. Quality of feedback has to do with how teachers extend students' learning through their responses to students' ideas, comments, and work. And thinking about the feedback loops, how much back and forth students and teachers have having a conversation about these things. Language modeling, we know that language modeling makes a difference for later reading success. Sorry for that noise that's outside of our room. I don't know what that is, but sorry for that extra noise. But language modeling has to do with the extent to which teachers facilitate and encourage students' language. So we'd love to see lots of oral language going on and modeling and just the teachers having high interaction in this area. So let's get to the logistics. That overview helps you to understand what's the tool and what kinds of things that the assessors will be looking for and making notes on. But let's talk about what to expect logistically for the scheduled observations. So you can communicate this out that the class observations will actually be conducted by trained and reliable class assessors hired through Teachstone, and they will come in and do the observations. And here's the good news. Teachers don't have to do anything different than they normally do. And you as BPK directors do not have to do anything different as well. That they're going to come in and do the actual assessments. And so we're just asking for you to be aware that they're coming and to look for communication that they'll be providing about when they're coming. Classroom assessors, when they come, it's important for your teachers to know this, that they will take 2 hours to actually conduct 4 30-minute observation cycles with 20 minutes for the actual observing, and then they'll step out and do 10 minutes for coding, and then they'll come back in and repeat another 30-minute cycle for a total of 2 hours at a time. And then we're asking you, here's where we need your help. We need to just check once we provide kind of the window of time these assessments will be occurring, to please be sure there are no scheduling conflicts that would prevent the full 2-hour assessment from being completed. And you might be thinking, like, what do you mean? Like, what types of scheduling conflicts should be on my radar? So perhaps there's field trips scheduled or special school events that would have them outside the instructional time spent in the classroom. We are hoping to capture mostly the instructional time during the day, so they certainly can overlap into some outdoor time, but our preference is that the majority of the assessment takes place in the classroom. So scheduling, when are these class observations occurring? We've been communicating this through directors' updates and all along, but I think it's always good to have a reminder in front of us that these will be happening between October 2nd and December 14th. And again, there will be a team of class assessors assigned to help us conduct all of these assessments. So they'll be conducting specific classroom observations, and the specific assessor will be the one who will reach out directly to the school by phone or by email about 1 to 2 weeks in advance of when the observation will occur. So let me say that again. We have a team of assessors, so there's not just one assessor. So in whichever assessor has been assigned to the given school and classroom, because there might be a different assessor assigned to another classroom in the same school, it's important to know that that assessor who's coming will reach out directly by phone or email 1 to 2 weeks in advance of when the observation will occur. So let's put that in perspective for a minute. So in a given school, you might not have all the assessments done in the same week. They may be coming back to do another assessment for another classroom by a different assessor. So just know that if you're getting contacted more than once to say, hey, we're scheduling a class assessment, don't panic. That's exactly what you should be hearing, because that assessor is scheduling their time to come to do that classroom. So you might say, didn't somebody already contact me? And that answer would be yes. And this would be the next one that's coming to do another classroom that has not yet been assessed. So again, that's that last bullet there saying that they may not all be assessed at the same time. So I think it's important to also leave today's seminar, the webinar together, to understand how the data is going to be used and shared. So I would hope that you would help me again, like I opened today's webinar saying, help us to message this, that the data from these observations will serve as a baseline indicator of our statewide voluntary pre-K quality efforts. And I can tell you this already, that from the sampling we did earlier with the 200 classrooms, that has already been tremendously helpful in thinking about what we should consider for our training going forward, like what are some areas we can identify that all teachers would benefit from. And so that's what we want to use this data for, is to inform professional development opportunities as we look at patterns and just trends across the districts. This will inform our continuous improvement efforts. It certainly will inform your VPK applications as you goal set. You'll be able to see trends and patterns across your district that you can identify saying, yes, this is something we'd like to work on too. So data at the classroom level will not be provided to districts, and it will not be used to evaluate individual teachers. The purpose, again, is to really identify trends and patterns that we can use collectively and customize our professional development opportunities. So that's what we're excited about using. It's just going to be our data. We're telling our story. That when we start this, I think about our trainings, we're not calling them ELM this year, so you have to correct me if you hear me say that. So Early Learning 2.0 training will be based on this data we're collecting from class and helping to inform our efforts going forward. I always tell you that we're getting better together, and together we get better, and this is the data to help us get there.